Hey there. So my next guest, I love talkers. I love fast talkers because I'm a fast talker myself. And on this show, I kind of have to slow myself down. But I think fast talkers are people who are truly passionate about what they do. They just have to get as much out as they can about the love that they have for what they're doing. And this next guest, he's a short order cook. He's a bartender by day and night and a streamer, but it's so clear he loves what he does. So I'm really excited for you guys to check this one out. Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the Gamerpreneur podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Bradford Carlton. Today's episode, I have a very special guest with us. I have Shane Johnson, a.k.a. McCrank Shank. How is it going, sir?
Very good. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. What would you like me to call you?
You can call me Shane, but yeah, Shank, Shane, whatever.
Shane works. All right.
Yeah, I don't really hide too much behind the, the stigma. I mean, not the stigma, but the persona of McCrank Shank. But I am definitely okay with Shane.
Sure thing. I used to be, my wife and I were criminal defense attorneys, so Shank meant something totally different to us.
Totally. Yeah. Like I always try to explain that. Everybody's like, oh, like a weapon shank. I'm like, that is one of the definitions of shank, but it's also like a mechanical piece inside like an engine and stuff like that. So
I don't normally tell stories on my actual interviews, but I'm going to right here.
Go ahead.
So my wife actually found out that like one day, like a prisoner at a prison up in Ohio asked for a big old stack of her cards. And she's like, oh, this is wonderful. They're passing out my cards. And like the next time she went up, it's like, hey, can we get more cards? She's like, oh, this is so great. They're passing out my cards. And then she's like, why do you need my cards? They're like, we get all kinds of business cards from other attorneys, but yours have like the proper thickness to make into proper shanks.
They should, yeah, they're probably getting them all together and then filing them down. Oh man. Well, that's unfortunate.
Right.
Any publicity is good publicity, I guess. Right. So
absolutely.
Whatever.
All right. So Shane, why don't you go ahead and tell me a little bit about yourself, please?
Well, I'm a gonna be 34-year-old father of one. Just recently got engaged.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Currently residing in Wisconsin, Midwest. Originally from Michigan. I've been in the service industry, if you will, but cooking, kitchen management, bartending since, oh man, I forgot, over a decade, 15 plus years. And I don't see that ever changing in the foreseeable future either. But other than that, I'm a huge gamer. I'm a huge nerd. I'm a huge music fan. I'm pretty much adaptable to any situation, any person. If you name it, I've probably done it all. Everything from working on cars to racing motocross to doing street art to now streaming. So it's a jack of all trades, master of none, I guess you would say.
And the end of that saying is sometimes, most of the time, better than master of one.
True. I do. Sometimes, it kind of, you're not really sure where you need to land, with all these, like skills or attributes that you do have. But it is nice to be able to kind of do a little bit of everything. Like I said, you might be able to do it well or good enough. But I'd rather know a little bit about a lot than just know a lot about one thing. So
absolutely. All right. So Shane, I start every podcast or every interview with a single question. I'm going to ask you just like I ask everybody else. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being high, how weird are you?
Oh man, that's awesome. I love that. That's a day-to-day, it changes. When I'm around my friends, my really close friends, the people I've known for decades, it's an 8, 9, man, that thing tops out at 11 sometimes. But at the same time, when I got to be professional, I drop that down to a 0.5. So it's everywhere. Like I said, that adaptability. But in my heart of hearts, probably a good 8, like day-to-day 8.
Fantastic. All right. So this is the Gamerpreneur, and I kind of get the feeling you might be a gamer, but why don't you go ahead and give me your gaming cred? When did you start playing?
Oh man. So I'm not one of those guys that's been gaming since I could pick up a controller. I remember my mom having a Super Nintendo or a Nintendo. I remember very faintly my dad taking me to, I believe it was Kmart when I was really little, and we getting the Super Nintendo. But when it came to like my gaming career, it was always like I had a PlayStation 1, but I had Independence Day, and that was like the only game I had. Or I had like
that game
Tekken.
rocks, though.
Oh yeah, it's so bad, but it's so much fun. And I'm like, I always played stuff that was, that I lived in a very small town, so it was like whatever you could rent at the time, or I never really had a collection of games, but I gamed my entire life. I started mainly gaming about Xbox 360 would say when like my competitive online shooter kind of took over, and that was with Halo. So I want to say probably Halo and Gears of War is what changed me. But then from what you see behind me has literally only been about the last probably 4 years. I got a Switch when I got launched, and that would be my first Nintendo console I've ever bought myself and invested in. And then shortly after that, I got a PlayStation 4 and played God of War, little guy right here, Kratos, the 2018. And then I just fell in love with that ecosystem. So now I have PC, I have PlayStation 4, I have Switch, there's a PS1, PS2, PS3 back there. Like it's just been such a blast having a disposable income as an adult and jumping into games, if that makes sense. It's as a kid, you were kind of only given games that your parents got you, or maybe you borrowed. But I lived in a very small town. Nobody had a Game Boy. I didn't play Pokemon until 2 years ago, like for the first time ever. And so it's been a whirlwind. It's been a blast. Like I said, my gaming career it's probably only about 5 years old. Doesn't mean I'm not a gamer at heart and that I'm what people like, I'm not trying to, oh, he's faking it. No, like I'm on a new adventure, and it's fun. It's a blast. So
yeah, I love it. There's nothing wrong with being a late bloomer.
Oh, it's great.
All right. So Shane, what are you playing at the moment?
Right now, when it comes to the stream, I'm playing a lot of Warzone right now. I'm playing, I'm a big Overwatch fan. Tattooed. I got a whole thing behind me. So if you want to talk about, currently, like what I grind out the most, it's mostly Warzone shooters, Overwatch, but what am I playing right now? Last of Us Part 2.
Oh, yeah, that just came out, of course.
Oh man. And like, that's just another part of that ecosystem that I'm new of. Like I just played the first Last of Us remastered on a PS4 Slim, like I said, like 4 years ago. So I'm like catching up on all these fantastic like first party exclusives from these guys. And it's a blast. And then right after Last of Us Part 2, I'm going to be playing Ghost of Tsushima. So I have my PS5 or my PS4 is my sit down, my time. I have it in the living room. I enjoy those games. But then when it comes to like my streaming and what I do, like it's all over the board, but mostly shooters and PlayStation and Nintendo. So
wonderful. All right. So I here at this point I have like, what's your favorite game? But you haven't been playing long enough. So I'm going to ask you, desert island scenario of everything you've played. If you only got one game the rest of your life, power cable, Ethernet cord, so you can't play online. What's that one game?
Oh man, I believe I've had this conversation before, and it was such a toss-up because God of War 2018 is probably my favorite game of all time currently, followed closely by Breath of the Wild. And someone asked, he's like, do you really want to play a story campaign over and over and over again for the rest of your life? And for a minute, I'm like, well, yeah. But then I realized probably not. So I went kind of like more open world, and I'm not that big of a Minecraft fan, but I really dug it for like 2 years. I'm either have to give it's up between Zelda Breath of the Wild with how much stuff you can do in that game, and probably Minecraft, because it's literally endless. It's endless, and you can just have as much fun as you want. So I'm probably have to give it to Minecraft just for longevity, and the ability to do whatever you want, build whatever you want, and have fun in it. So
absolutely.
I can't remember the last time I played Minecraft. Like I play Minecraft Dungeons, love it, but the game itself, that's the first thing that comes to my head. So
it still blows my mind because I'm fairly certain I bought it like 10 years ago.
Oh, we all have.
Like,
everybody owns it. People are
still playing it. Like what?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But like, they keep updating it. So that's a fantastic answer.
I have it on, PC, Xbox, PlayStation, my phone, my Switch, it's everywhere. And from what they did with that game, like to be locked on a desert island and be able to just, like I said, short of playing like The Sims or something that's like longevity like that, it's just, you can do whatever you want in that game. Yeah, it's a brilliant idea that will last longer than us. Minecraft will be here longer than us. So.
Beautiful. All right. So let's talk the preneur part. So you mentioned that you are in the services world as a cook. You kind of describe what it is you do at the moment.
So I come from a background of short order cook is what we like to call it. And by no stretch of the imagination am I a chef or I've ever been called a chef. I've had people be like, oh, so you're a chef at this place. Like, no, I'm a cook. Like a chef goes to school. It's long ticket. It's a lot of, I want to say more work. It's a little bit more intricate work. What I do is I sling burgers and fries and, at local, mom and pop shop as fast as you can. And, I've never worked for a franchise before. It's always been, local family owned stuff. So I've been doing that as long as I can remember. And I've been, kitchen managing, probably for the last close to 7-8 years. Currently, I'm not in a position where I'm managing. I'm just kind of like an advisor, I guess you would say. Just because of having my child, she's just a little over a year old. So when I had my kid, I kind of took a step back from like that heavy management role and just wanted to work and go home. But I've been doing that for a long time. It has its highs and its lows, like with any job. I love it. I have a passion for it. I bring it home. I cook at home all the time. I never really get bored of it. Sometimes it's just, you go through the motions, but other than that too, but I'm also a bartender. I've been bartending probably about 6 years. And that's a blast too, especially in Wisconsin, in a smaller city that I do work in. So you get to know a lot of the community, business owners, fellow, service industry workers, and obviously patrons that just come in, and regulars from across all ages, all demographics, all races. And it's a blast, talking to people. And that's what my industry is, whether sometimes I'm in the kitchen, but I do get to come out and we talk. And it's just, I love that feeling of someone coming in, ordering a burger and fries and eating it and being like, hey Shane, that was absolutely fantastic. We'll see you tomorrow. And yep, we'll see you later, bud. Like that, there's a ceiling to it. You can go only so far. You can own restaurants, or, you can do this, but like, I love it. Always have, probably always will. Like I said, I don't see myself getting out of that industry anytime soon. It might be a different form of it, but I don't see it changing. So, and my fiance is in the same industry. She works at the same place I do. So it's born, and it's just us. So.
Right on. And you said been doing this for about 15 years. How did you even get into it in the first place?
Oh man. I think my first food service I was like 15, and I think I applied at Subway. So that was like a mixture of like bartending and cooking at the same time. So it was customer service, like right up in front of your face. And I started to understand like food means a lot to people, no matter kind of what it could be. Like I said, burgers and fries, subs, or high-end $75 steaks. Food is very important. Food's always going to be around. People need to have food made for them. And it's a very personal and intimate experience. And then I don't want to say I fell in love at Subway with cooking. But I got a job later on, at a spot in Wausau, Wisconsin. It was a smoke shop. It was, we had a big smoker in the back, and we smoked meat. And it was one guy owned it, and he was like 33 at the time, like my age. And I want to say 19. And fresh off of just knowing nothing. And like, I worked at factories and stuff. And then he taught me how to smoke. He taught me we did breakfast on Sundays. I was there at 4 a.m. learning how to like flip eggs. And then that was probably when I fell in love with it, when someone gave me the time of day to teach me and pass on their skills. And then ever since then, it's just been a whirlwind of I don't even remember what restaurant I cooked at last year. I've been doing it. And no weekends, like there's just, you work every holiday, you work every weekend. It's a blast. It's like being a rock star, if that makes sense. You need to be there at 9 a.m. and you need to leave at midnight, and then you're going to be back there at 9 a.m. and then you just keep doing it. And then, I was fortunate enough to open up restaurants across the state of Wisconsin. I opened up like 4 of them, all the same person, family owned, company, and, just 100-hour weeks. And you look at that and you're like, what, 100 hours flipping burgers? And it's like, that sucks. I'm like, nah, but the people I worked with and the times I had and the memories I made and the skills I acquired you can't beat it. So, it's like I've had memories at every spot, and every memory usually just builds on why I love the industry. And I have to work tomorrow morning, and I'll probably go in why am I here? You know what I mean? Like, but in the bottom of my core, I love what I do. So.
No, absolutely. It is clear. There is definitely a passion in your voice and the way you carry yourself while talking about this. A lot of people I interview, you can tell they don't really like what they do, but you're like into this. So this is great.
And as a manager, as a hiring manager, people that's my interview process is the same. Is I usually open up with, why are you here? You know what I mean? Like, I'm okay if you just want a paycheck. I am okay with that. Like, I get that, but that kind of gives me a starting point on where I need to start teaching you. You know what I mean? If you're passionate about cooking, you want to have a good time, we can start at this point. But if you just want to make a paycheck, then I'm just going to teach you how to do the simple things so you can get in and get out. So like I've heard that same passion that you're talking about in people's voices, and it's few and far between these days, especially with the line of work I do. A lot of people just want a paycheck. They just want to come in, clock out, and that's fine. You do you. But you can't forget about the people that actually enjoy this and love it and want to continue to do it. You know, like I said, I'm never going to be a lawyer or a doctor or anything like that. I'm never going to make 6 figures a year doing flipping burgers, but I'm going to like what I do. So.
Okay. Now, on that note, those people who want to get into it, part of my purpose in this show is trying to show people there are other options. You don't just have to be a gamer, right? You can actually have this wide opportunity in this world and do anything you want. So if there's somebody out there listening and they want to go into the world of cooking, what's their first step? Where do they go?
Start at home. Absolutely start at home, because like I said, cooking in a commercial aspect, one, you have to kind of realize what kind of cooking you want to do. Do you want to just work at Applebee's or McDonald's and just sling really fast food just because that's easy for you? Or do you want to get into like culinary arts? Do you want to go to school for it? But I say how I did, like my mom and dad were always massive cooks. We sat at the dinner table and everything was homemade. It might've been mac and cheese and fried chicken, but it was homemade. You know, I don't remember ever really having like boxed meals. Not that I eat boxed meals all the time now, but it's just the principle of like, they sat down, my mom made it or my dad made it, and we sat down and we ate it and we enjoyed it. We washed dishes, and you learn from your father, or you learn from your mother, or your brother, or your sister. And if you fall in love with it at home, if you find recipes interesting, or the skill set of like time management and multitasking, if you find that interesting and you find that you enjoy it, then that's the beginning step for me. If you find yourself wanting to have cookouts all the time and firing up the grill and having your friends over, and you love that feeling of cooking a bunch of meat and brats and steaks, and they all enjoy it and you like that feeling, then I would start getting into cooking and choose your avenue, what restaurant you want to do. And most places are willing to work with you if you have no training. Like if I've trained countless people that didn't even know what an egg, like how to flip an egg or how to cook an egg. They only thought it was scrambled and that's it. And that's fine. Some people, nobody never told them. And I started there. And then by the time I, left that restaurant, that guy was an assistant kitchen manager and one of the best cooks I've ever seen. Shout out to Christopher. Or I've turned people that were just there for a paycheck and they just want to cook, and I turn them in to find a passion. It's just start really anywhere. Just find that passion at home and then find that avenue. And like I said, most people, and I can't speak for everybody, sometimes you're going to find some really knucklehead cooks and business owners, but most cooks will just give you an opportunity, because everybody started at zero. You know what I mean? Especially, and most of them didn't have any education. I never had a culinary education. My education was working in the trenches for a decade. And sometimes I've worked with people that are going to culinary school and they're flipping burgers on the weekends, and they were some of the worst cooks in the world, hands down. And some of the best cooks in the world were the kids that just wanted to try it. Felons and convicts and people that were out on Huber and stuff, and that just wanted to get out and cook, and they love cooking. And then the people that were actually going to school for it and think they're going to be the best chef in the world were the worst cooks, So it's like, just start, ask questions, and be eager to learn. It's the best way to get into that industry.
That's wonderful and hilarious. So you did mention some of the skills necessary to be a cook, and I really want to kind of dive into this if we can. You mentioned time management. What other kinds of skills do you have, or does a person who would like to be a cook need to have?
So like obviously like time management, that's huge. And that kind of goes with just day-to-day life. You got to get somewhere, you got to be there on time. But other than that, like, multitasking, and that's different with each kitchen that you're in. Big giant New York City kitchens are going to have 25 people in it, and they're all going to be at a different station, and they all have one job. You saute the mushrooms, you saute the onions, and you give me the pasta. And then there's one dude that puts it together. Now, that's all fine and dandy, but like in my line of work, you got to do you got to do everything. You get a few tickets in, and they got this, and this, and this, and this. You got to be able to, this takes this long, this takes this long, this takes this long, this takes this long, put it down, make sure it all comes out at once. And obviously with technology advancements and fryers that beep when everything's ready, and burger presses that lift up when they're done. What I'm talking about is old school spatula cooking, handwritten tickets. It's multitasking and then staying cool under pressure, and maybe going above that and beyond that, and then working better under pressure. One of the biggest jokes in kitchens is the top guys like me, like a guy that's been doing it forever, will screw up more when it's slow, when there's one ticket on the board or one ticket being cooked. We'll screw up because we're like a Ferrari just ready to go, and we can't, and we're just like doing a mile an hour, and But then when the ticket board's filled and it's, going crazy, that's when we do our best work. So it's staying cool under pressure, being better under pressure, the multitasking. And like I go back to the passion. That is a skill set. You need to learn passion. It might just be a basket of fries or a cheeseburger or a fried chicken sandwich, but you just make it the best fried chicken sandwich you ever made. And that's something you need to learn and you need to have. Because if you don't know what a really good chicken sandwich is, you're probably going to put out a bad chicken sandwich, and then that person's not going to come back. That's it. So
absolutely, making it a career. Beautiful. All right. So you're bartending. I'm not going to necessarily discuss, how it goes because, okay. However, you deal with a lot of people, and I'm sure you talk to a lot of, it is clear you talk to a lot of people. Yeah. Not just probably on your stream, but also just generally, you're definitely a talker, and I love it. What is something that people misunderstand about you when they first meet you?
Probably like my weirdness. I don't show it right away. You know what I mean? I have a face sometimes that might look stern. I don't, I got my tattoos that kind of show off a little bit of my side, but other than that, like usually first impressions of me is, hey, how you doing? It's very, I'm kind of I like to feel it out before, I uncrack like the case and and see it, let you see all of me. But, I'm always polite, bartender, they'll come in, hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? But then I gauge out the conversation, what I mean? So I guess the biggest misinterpretation is like, this guy's dull, or this guy doesn't know anything. And like going back to the jack of all trades, master none, I watch the news, I watch sports, I watch movies, TV shows, play video games. So like, you want to talk about politics, you want to talk about Packers and Detroit Lions or hockey, we'll talk about that. So usually misinterpretation is that I'm just some young, dumb millennial, I guess. And I don't have much to say. And sometimes I like to play that part too, and I'll just play dumb. But mostly that's it, is that I'm just like the rest and just another 33-year-old bartender that just doesn't care and is always on their phone and on Snapchat or whatever. And that's really not the case. I have a lot to say. As you said, I'm a talker. I have a lot to say. I want to have conversations. I think they're important. So
sure. Do people still use Snapchat?
I don't, my fiance does all the time, and I just look at them like, I just got on TikTok and I think that's hilarious. But Snapchat, it's just like, I just can't handle having a conversation through 3 different apps. Like she'll do that to me. We'll have just our normal text through iPhone, and then she'll send me something on Facebook Messenger, and then she'll send me, I'm like, why? No, stop. Just put it all in one, please. Like if you need me to go over here and check this out, I'll go over there and check, but don't talk, because I don't know how to respond to that. You respond to me, and do I respond in Facebook Messenger, or do I it's weird. I don't know.
All right. I love it. And I totally forgot what my next question was. Let's go with gamers. There's a stereotype about gamers that we're socially awkward. We don't know how to engage in people, but here you are, you're a bartender and you have to talk to people all the time. What advice do you have for those people out there who are like, I don't know how to talk to people? How do you start up a conversation?
Oh man. Like I said, the biggest thing is feeling them out. I mean, sometimes you just can't start a conversation with, are you a Republican or a Democrat? Or you can't start, or, hey, what's your favorite video game? Like visual cues. As a bartender, I'm very good at like overhearing conversations and kind of not like listening in, but like as I'm washing a glass, I'll hear them be like, oh man, I just played the new Last of Us, man. And boom, there's your chime in. Yeah, dude, I played it too. It's don't interrupt them too much, but I just played it too. Oh man, and then now you're in a conversation. It's knowing when to talk about stuff you're passionate about, because like you said, I'm a talker, and when I'm passionate about something, it just comes out. I don't think about it too much. If you're pushing it, if you want to talk about the Green Bay Packers, but you've never watched a Green Bay Packer game, don't talk about the Green Bay Packers. You're going to be immediately stopped and look like a fool, and you're going to look like you're trying too hard. So when it comes to talking to people and bartending, like I've been in a band before, I've got up on stage and introduced people. Obviously I stream. It's just be yourself. When you're having that deep conversation with one of your best friends, out in the back porch, be that person. Talk like that, and the rest will like just spew out of your mouth.
I love it.
How did you shut up?
All right, now let's kind of transition to what you're currently doing on the gaming side, because you are a streamer. Mm-hmm. And how long have you been doing that?
Oh man, relatively new, I want to say about 5 months now.
So. Wow, and you've got quite the setup in 5 months.
Yeah, like I said, I've been piecing it together. It was It's been just a chunk here. I started with a PC, and then I found out the PC couldn't handle it. Then I'm like, all right, I guess I'm going to go to Xbox and then use my PC to stream. And then it was like, oh, that worked out really well. And then it's just, you just piece it together. I think that's short of having like a really disposable income and just having thousands of dollars to kind of throw at your initial startup. This is probably how most streamers start. I mean, if you look at like big guys like Tim the Tap Man, the guy was, sitting at a Walmart desk in his 1-bedroom apartment, and now he looks like he's still in a 1-bedroom apartment, but he's just got purple lights on it now.
That's right. All right. So why did you decide to start up a stream?
That goes back, I want to say 10 plus years. Me and my good friend, Christopher, would always sit late up at night and just talk video games. And he's like super, super video game dude. Like this guy needs to like have his own podcast. Like this guy knows everything. Big PlayStation guy, big Nintendo guy. And so he took me under his wing a little bit, but for forever we would have these long conversations. And then we're like, man, we need to start a podcast or something, because this is just really good. We could just tell off the way we're talking to each other that this would just be amazing content. Let's just get a microphone and record it. Being kids, we were like, 20 something and, no care in the world. That it just never happened. You know what I mean? Like he lived over here and I lived across the state, or I worked here, and it's never happened. And then finally we kind of came back together after a while. This is before my daughter was born, and we're like, hey man, we're in the same city now. We're kind of like stable. Like, you want to start this podcast? And he's like, yeah, let's do it. So he bought a Yeti mic and he bought a camera and a MacBook. Like he spent a lot of money, and I bought like lights and a backdrop and stuff like that. Nothing ever happened of it. Nothing ever happened to it. So like my whole idea was to make content with this guy. So once that kind of backed out, I'm like, well, I can just do it myself. I'll just do it myself. And that my fiance was super sports, like, just do it yourself. So my whole goal was I was actually going to make YouTube videos, reviews on games that are classics that I've never played before. Final Fantasies, Last of Us, all this stuff that I'm currently experiencing. I want to put a camera on it and talk about it. Well, I don't know how to edit video. I want to learn, and I'm learning now as streaming. So I was kind of got really bummed out, like I set up a couple shots, and then obviously having 2 jobs, and my daughter was just born. I don't have time to kick this channel off the ground and give a very professional quality. Like that's what I want. I want a professional quality out the gate. I don't want to shoot this on my iPhone and edit it on my iPhone, and I just didn't want to do it. So I got really bummed and I kind of stopped. And then all of a sudden a kind of dinger went off in my head. Like, why don't you just stream video games? It's like you're making content, you're playing these games in front of people, you're just live. You don't have to edit anything. You're just live. So it kind of started, and I started to kind of build the setup, and I actually launched my stream initially on Mixer. I want to say it was December. Yeah. Right. On like October, just because it was integrated into the Xbox. I was using my Xbox One X. So I was like, well, if my PC fails or doesn't work, I can always just stream right from my Xbox. Game Pass is on, like, it was just kind of working together. But then I found, it was so hard to, you're sitting there on Mixer with like no views. And then I have to, I have a Facebook, and I was just like begging, my friends and family, the people that I care about, to go download an app, log in, make an account, find me, and then watch me. It wasn't working out. If you knew my friends, it wasn't going to happen. And it wasn't so much important to me that I needed people to watch me. I wanted my friends and my family. I'd be out at the bars or out, having a good time, and I'd be in like, hey man, check my Mixer out. And I'd show my phone and be like, oh yeah, cool. And I understand that's hard to ask people, is to get an app that they don't understand to watch me play video games. So then I made the jump. I took a break for a month, kind of got down on myself again. I'm like, streaming's not for me. And then I'm like, my buddy's like, hey, you should do Facebook gaming. I'm like, what's that? They're Facebook gaming. And they're like, yeah, like it's just like going live on Facebook, but they have like a whole platform they're building. And this was, like 5 months ago. So I set it up, I gave it a shot, and I invited everybody. I only have like 200 people on my friends list on Facebook. I don't have like thousands. And I invited everybody I knew and pushed it. And next thing I knew, I fired up my stream first night, and I had like 10 viewers, and I knew every single one of them and fell in love with it day one. The support's been fantastic. And that was the best decision ever, was to
so cool.
include.
How's it going now?
It's going great. I'm just fresh off of about a week break. Took a Father's Day off, and then the prior week, just to, I think with anything that you do, you just need to take like a few days off to kind of refresh the mind, rethink on where your project is going. So coming back, I just streamed again for the first time last night in about a week, and it's just been fantastic. The gaining traction here and there, I went from hitting 100 followers and being able to get in the level up program to like skyrocketing to like 200. And then all of a sudden I'd hit 300. And now I'm sitting at about almost 400, pushing the social media. I think it's really starting to click is when I'm starting to see people join and comment and like that aren't from my area or from my friend group or have mutual friends. Oh man, this guy's from Hawaii. Like he doesn't know any of my friends. Like he found this and he keeps hanging out. Like I keep finding this small traction. Like it is a small traction right now. I'm not skyrocketing by any means, but I'm having a blast. I'd rather sit and stream and hang out with my 10 loyal friends that I've saw yesterday personally than have 100,000 people in my chat, where I don't even get to interact with them because it's going by so fast. But it's been going great. I love it. I fell in love with it. I always get questions at work. Like I said, I work full time. I get questions like, how's that? They're always interested. How's that streaming thing going? They didn't care when I was on Mixer, but now that they see me on their feed, because I'm friends with them on Facebook, they see me and they hop in and they see, well, that's the cook. That's the cook at work. And he's just sitting there in a pink room playing video games. This is cool. And it's fun. I'm having a blast with it. So
wonderful. I love it. All right. So I'd like to pull back if we can for a second. I want to talk a little more personally if I can, or if we can. Absolutely. And specifically, I'd like to humble you if possible. See, I believe that we learn the most from our failures in life, not necessarily our successes. Our failures require us to pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, figure out what went wrong to be able to move forward. So I'd like to ask you, Shane, what is your biggest failure in life and what did you learn from it?
It's an easier answer than I probably thought, because the minute you started asking that question, I already knew, because a lot of people will probably go to a very specific moment or a specific turn in their life where they didn't, make a choice and that's fine with some people. But for me, it was not taking care of my mental health quicker. Diagnosed with like general anxiety disorder when I was like 15, was on like antidepressants when I was in high school, and everything was fine. And then I got off them because I didn't need them. And that in turn sent me into a whirlwind of just bad choices, moving across the country. Knock on wood, never been arrested. I've never been in trouble. You know what I mean? I've never, there's no drug addictions. There's no, anything like that. But it was just a constant state of, I have no idea what I'm doing ever. All I knew what to do is I knew how to cook, and that's it. And I know how to be friendly to people, but that wasn't enough to be stable enough. So now like getting my mental health under control in the last probably 2 years since my daughter's been born and I got engaged in this adventure of streaming and everything, and getting my mental health under control, put everything into perspective on what I'm capable of doing and on day-to-day basis. Not to say that I couldn't stream before off of, taking care of myself, off self-care and stuff like that. But that my biggest mistake was letting that drag on for a decade of just a whirlwind of emotions and just brushing them off like they're nothing, and then I'll just be fine tomorrow. So that's probably my biggest failure. So
rock on for being able to overcome it, my man.
No, thank you.
All right. Kind of I guess a related question now. What is something you're working to improve on in yourself?
Being kinder. I've never been a mean person, but I'm always quick to judge. Like I said, when I'm a bartender and people come in, I like to feel them out first before I let you, like before we are friends and stuff. So it's being kinder to people, being open to people before they say anything, not judging people right away. And improving myself too is being more standing up for things. I always have my own opinions on stuff. And I'm always too scared to talk about them because I don't, no one wants to feel vulnerable, you know what I mean? And so standing up for people, standing up for what's right, being active, being vocal, just trying to be a better person is what and that sounds very generic, and that sounds very, like, oh, what are you trying to be better? I'm just trying to be better. No, like I'm just trying not to be so quiet, and I'm trying to get out of my little bubble that I live in, that I've lived in my entire life. And that's part of like the mental health is like, I just want to be in here. And if you want to come in here, that's fine, but I'm not going out there. So I want to go out there, and I want to share and boost people and make people smile and laugh and leave something behind kind of thing is, for my daughter, when I go, hey, You know, my dad was a really, really happy man and really, really funny, and he was just really kind, and that's what I want. Like right now, people say, "Oh yeah, he was funny." You know, if you got to know him, you know, I want to radiate positive energy. How about that? Let's go with that.
I love it. That's a fantastic goal to work towards.
Thank you.
All right, Shane, this has been a wonderful interview. How do people find you? Where are you out on social?
I am all over the place. Everything is McCrankshank. So Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and obviously Facebook is at McCrankshank, one word.
Okay.
Or two words, but put together.
Beautiful. All right. Now, do you have any final thoughts you want to share with us, or any questions I didn't ask you think we still need to cover?
No, I think this has been fantastic. I mean, I was really looking forward to this, and to be professionally interviewed, because I watch a lot of your content and you're very professional. You have fun, but you're very professional. And that's I'm super behind what you're doing, is, like you said, breaking the stigma of, like you said, the basement dwelling video game player. And that's, you know, they're out there. There's someone out there.
That guy from Warcraft really does exist.
Yeah, right. He's there. But to fact, you know, my biggest defense is that this is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and it's going to just continue to grow. And especially with the world pandemic that we were in, people bought every console, and now they're discovering video games, and now's the time to wave our flag, just like you're doing and just like I'm doing. So I really appreciate what you're doing. So.
Absolutely. You got lucky getting a Switch. My daughter's birthday, her third birthday, was coming up. Like, let's get a Switch. Good right luck. In the middle of the Rona. They didn't exist.
No, every console sold 160, 170% more consoles than they did last year in April. Like, everybody was out. Like, you're just not finding them. But they'll be back. They'll be back, but just not right now. So
that's right. All right, Shane Johnson, McCrankshank, thank you so much for coming on with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And everybody else, I'm going to remind you all, don't be just a gamer, be a gamerpreneur.